Looks like, looks like now, looks like now we are streaming on Facebook. And you got Dave Nelson here from Industry Cooking Classes. Thanks so much for showing up on this lovely, not so lovely Labor Day, but at least it is a Labor Day. I'm going to get a few screens opened up here, and we're going to start talking to the man, the legend, Chris Barnum-Dann from Localis here in Sacramento. People who know food in this town know this guy, and if you don't know this guy, you're about to meet him, okay? And so, like I said, let me get a few screens up here and running, and screens up and running. I like that better. And we're going to start the show. Boop, boop, a-doo, okay? I'm going to get some comments online here for you guys. If you have any questions for this gentleman as we move along with the show, please throw them out there and I will try and add them to the conversation. It's going to be good stuff. This guy is awesome. So today, again, if you weren't here earlier, no one was, Industry Cooking Classes, and we are doing a Between Two Stoves interview here today with Chris Barnum-Dann from Localis Restaurant in Sacramento. He is a huge food talent in this town. All of the people who know food in this town, we all know about this place. And anytime, you know, that I know someone coming in from out of town, my gosh, you know, they ask for a recommendation, this is the place I'm sending them. Okay, so looks like he's just showing up in the green room there. I will go ahead and just bring him on in here. And there you are. Man, I was prepared for that. Prepared for that.
Still happening.
Right. Well, it's summertime, man. You gotta get a little breeze going and all.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lifelong thing for me. I'm going to try to never cut it again.
Are you liking it?
I'm loving it. Yeah, and I'm going to. My hair used to be like super long back in the day, and I don't want long hair again. But I think if I had just the mohawk and I could braid it in the back, it'd probably be pretty fun. So I'm going to try to let it grow. We'll see what happens.
Like never cut it again, let it grow and just have this huge long, wow, that would be awesome, dude. Well, also I wanted to kind of point out, I believe today was going to be the Tower Bridge dinner. It was going to be the Farm to Fork Festival all weekend. It was going to be the World Butchers competition this weekend. And I just wanted to just kind of pass that moment by and just throw that out there. I'm really sorry that all didn't happen. We were going to see that huge butcher competition come to town. I'm not a sports guy, but I could see competitive meat cutting as like something I would like.
Yeah.
So I just was really sad about that. And I mean, any thoughts, Chris? I mean, you're always a favorite of the food people, and this was a big weekend.
Yeah, and you know, we look forward to it every year. You know, even if we're not, you know, part of it or whatever, we just look forward to kind of showcasing, you know, where Sacramento really lies with its food and how important food is to our, you know, to our culture here. It kind of proves the point when you see tens of thousands of people pouring out for a food festival. You know, it's probably one of the highest you know, populated events of the year, and it all revolves around local food. So I think that's really cool. And you know, it's a bummer that it's not happening, but it's also I think it's going to show a lot of resilience, because it's obviously going to still happen. We're going to get back to it. They launched the menu to go thing with the bridge dinner next week.
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up. Yeah, shout it out, please.
Yeah, totally. So a bunch of restaurants got together, and we're going to offer, you know, for us, it's kind of easy because we're kind of offering the tasting menu kind of thing already. And we use so heavily into local ingredients, but restaurants have an option for like a 4-course tasting menu, I think, available to go or on the patio or whatever they're serving. And they just have to include almost all ingredients from local, and then, you know, doing wines and beers and stuff like that from local people as well.
And do you have any information on how they order that? Do they just go to the website, pick your menu, say, and?
You know, I don't think that we that there's a page with menus on it. I think that you can go and click. They have hyperlinks to the restaurants that are kind of doing it, and I think that it's just they kind of, you go on and hyperlink to whoever you want to order from, and then their menu will be there.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, great. So just in case people are wondering how to get there, you know, or get their bridge dinner on this year in your own living room or backyard. Yeah, I think it's awesome that they're tying that in. I was hoping to talk to a couple of other people and try and help promote this as much as possible, because I didn't really hear about it until only just recently. And so and it's coming on pretty quick.
I think they kind of, they just wanted to do something and it got a little late. I think they're doing the best that they can do. This wasn't something that came out, like months ago. So I think we're all just going to chip in and do what we can and try to represent, the festival as best as possible and, just do what we do.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. That's kind of what I figured too. Everything is just kind of evolving as we reconfigure life,
Yeah.
We move forward and reconfigure and pivot. Make the pivot. And that's that's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And most of the people that I bring on the show is like, I think a lot of food folks in town are very aware of what you and the crew present at Localis, right? But I wonder if you could just kind of describe pre-COVID Localis for the people that are unfamiliar as a good starting point for tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I opened Localis 5 years ago with a mission of doing a tasting menu centric restaurant that changed often. When we talk about seasonal cuisine, a lot of times, people talk about 4 seasons, but in a place like California, especially Northern California, I mean, every month is there's times where it's a weekly seasonality. So I really wanted to kind of remain rooted in local seasonal. It's how I grew up. It's how I ate as a child. It's how I started cooking. It's just kind of always how I've cooked. And now that it's become such a prominent feature in so many restaurants and areas, we just wanted to do something that was, I mean, quite literally just giving the experience that I wanted to get when I dine out. I've always said that I'm a diner first. I absolutely love the idea of dining out, whether it's fast and casual at a taco truck or if it's in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, any way, shape, or form that, we can get experience through food and not just the food is something I'm excited about. So we wanted to open that, and it took me, a long time to get people into that kind of vibe of being cool with a tasting menu restaurant in Sacramento. It definitely wasn't something that was thought to succeed, but it did.
Yeah, to be like an everyday thing for people, but you do make it accessible for everyday, experiences, even though it is a true experience, right?
Well, yeah, I think that what we do here differently, because I mean, there's so many places in Sacramento that do absolutely amazing food. I mean, the list is super long. But I think what makes us a little different here is that it's a very small place. It's very personalized, for better or for worse. I've talked about it often. It's great that Localis is synonymous with me, but it also is hard sometimes, because when you need a break or when you need to step away, that's not really an option. But I absolutely love what we do here. And I think attracting more and more people that love what they do is kind of giving a sense to the guests that these people aren't acting, that it's not a show, that they're not in there to be kind of like talked to about some fake stuff. Is we have a genuine love of food and wine and the way those two things interact. And I think that's just what kind of separates us a little different. So before we went COVID times, we were up to about 94% of guests doing the tasting menu, just about ready to make the leap off the cliff and just say, hey, we're just going to do what's always been in our hearts and try to elevate service without raising prices. You said accessible.
Ready to take it to a new place, right?
Of course, yeah. We were gonna.
It was all coming together, brother. I was like out here watching, on the outside and just seeing it all come together. I was like, man, all right. And then this just slams the brakes on everything.
Yeah, and it slammed the brakes on, millions of people's lives, and businesses are closing and people are dying, and there's so much bad thing in the world right now. But I think what it comes down to is that at least for my family, and that includes our staff here, is we've kind of all come to the understanding that we can't change what's happening in the world right now. The only thing that we can change is how we react to it. So we've kind of just chosen to try to stay positive. And, if this place goes down in burning flames, it's nothing that I did, and it's nothing that's my fault. And it's okay. It's not that I want it to happen. I definitely didn't want to cancel our move to East Sacramento. And, there's possibilities, and there's always a chance that something could happen with a new location or something like that. But at this point, we're in survival mode, and we're just trying to get through every day. And we know that as our spirits stay, resilient and happy, the food is better, people pick up on it, and we're still offering a level of experience, even though we can't have you in the restaurant right now. So we're proud of what we're doing. We're going to continue, staying positive and trying to do the best that we can do. And, who the hell knows what's going to happen? I don't think any one of us even wants to take a jab at what life is going to look like, post COVID. But
You
for
don't
right
want
now,
me to, you don't want me to go down that road. I just start getting
right.
depressing
I
and
mean,
everything. You just, yeah. Oh my God.
we're just
We're going to stay positive. We're going to stay positive today, right?
Exactly. And we're just learning how to appreciate the taste of a shit sandwich. Sometimes you got to do that. So
yeah, or figure out what condiments go well with it,
exactly,
and
right. Try to cover that up.
Right on. Hey, I think we should say back in the day you were like definitely a part, front and center during service. You're going out to the tables and everything, and you, like you were saying, you're genuine people. You seem to enjoy that. Is that something that you're missing out on these days? You're not getting that face to face much anymore.
No, we're not, but at the same time, we're seeing our loyal guests come, every 2 weeks, sometimes, once a month, and we get to talk with them for a little while, and they get to share the experience of the food, and they email us, and we still call every reservation, and talk to them personally, even though they booked their whole thing online and it's all paid for. We still want to talk. We still want to reach out. We still want to connect with our community, and we're missing it, but we get our little. It's kind of like a junkie, we're getting just enough to take the edge off with what we're going through. But I can't wait to showcase, the changes that we've made during COVID. I mean, it's been an insanely profound experience for me. And, I know some people get hesitant to talk about the positive qualities of COVID. But for me, there's been a lot, and I can't wait to be able to showcase what we've learned as a family here after we finally get to have people in again.
Can you kind of paint a picture of what your current experience is? I know it's changing all the time because of regulations, and they're letting you people in and out again and everything. What are you guys looking like these days?
Well, it sounds like a sob story, but it's okay. It's just we don't have a patio. We did have a patio, but we closed it in so that we could have year-round dining, and that kind of screwed us in the end. So and then we don't have anywhere that we can put up outdoor seating. We also had to think about the realistic opportunity for people to pay a high premium and sit outside at 109-degree temperature, where it's smoky. So it's a really hard
winter even, right? I'm wondering about next winter when it's all storming outside. What are we going to be doing,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone knows, so we're hoping that people continue, or try to follow guidelines and try. I mean, the funny thing about all this is, people want to argue about, one side or the other, but really what I look at is like, even if you think this is a total hoax and it's stupid or whatever, I think everyone wants to get out of this as fast as possible. And the way to do that is to buckle down, it's even if you don't like it, then do it extra, do it better than everyone else. In that way,
World War II attitude. Let's figure it out and make it work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just shut up and let's get out of this faster. None of us want to do this for another year or 2 years or however freaking long it's going to take, So it's like, let's put everything to the side and just really get together as a community. And that's all we can do, right? I mean, we can help shape our communities. Past that, it's a lot of talk and a lot of ramble, but I think, here in Sacramento, I see a fairly good amount of people that are really trying to follow the rules. And believe me, man, I wish that our local government would do a little bit better job of getting out to individual restaurants and saying, okay, what is your business plan? What do you want to do? How many people do you want to serve? Because as much as we're all in this together, we're all different businesses, and
I'm trying to get a county health professional on, a health inspector on the show to talk about, hey, what are these guidelines? What are people supposed to be doing? And are there specific things for different businesses that we need to know? Have all of those conversations. It's very, very important conversation I wish the general public could hear. How does food safety work in a restaurant? I think that's very valuable information for the general public to know. And so I can definitely start asking about that sort of thing too. Is like, I imagine those guys are so swamped at this point though, right? They're trying to figure everything out too, just like every other restaurant is, and trying to figure and get it out there to every place, communicate with every place. How often did you used to see a food inspector in the old world?
Probably like every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fairly regular occurrence.
That is pretty regular, yeah.
Building. So it's hard in an old building, with a lot of years of restaurant running in it. But, you know, we're very confined here with space. So that's always, I think, been a benefit because there's not very many places for anything to hide. It's
We're nooks and
so
crannies.
small. Yeah, but you know, I also think about that, you know, being swamped and everything, but I got to think that with as many furloughed employees as the government has right now, I get that we're saving money, but like, hey, if it's worth it to get, you know, businesses open, and I've seen some sentiments out there from other restaurant owners, and I got to agree, it's like, let's let the restaurants that are doing it right open, and let's let them, you know, do their thing because they're choosing to make all of the sacrifices to do it right, you know. And we're going to have to figure out something, because I mean, I think, you know, that restaurants are not going to make it, you know, like Localis is, we're doing well, but we're not doing well enough to survive any long period of time without more funding or, you know, something. So it's like,
I
how
think
many restaurants are going to have to go out before this gets handled?
these seem like the dark thoughts that we're all trying not to think right now, and everything. But I agree completely with everything you're saying right there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's real, you know. And I used to be the I'm just being honest guy, you know, and really what that meant was I'm excusing my assholeness, you know, of being honest. But nowadays, you know, it's just, you have to be real about it, you know. It's a realistic thing. You know, my restaurant could close, and when you accept that, and you don't let that run your life, I think it really benefits your employees, your family, those that are close to you, with not draining everyone with that negative energy, and just assuming the fact that, you know, yeah, it could close down, and, you know, this thing could all go away. But at the same time, what are we going to do about it? You know, like, we just got to try to stay positive, and easier said than done, of course, you know, I get it, but we found a way to be able to do it. And our team here is resilient. I mean, we're actually leaving, you know, Localis tonight. I'm down here to pick up everything we need for the last tasting menu that we just finished. And we're all going to have the tasting menu up at my place, you know, socially distanced and everything. But just to celebrate, you know, what we're doing and how we're doing it. And, you know, the finances don't make sense of it. And, you know, everything doesn't make sense. But we're like, hey, we got to get together and eat and drink and be merry, because what else are we going to do, you know?
it's what we do, man. And I know someone like you with a drive and compassion and passion for everything. You're gonna figure something out at the end of all of this. I have ultimate faith in people like you, because you were able to show yourself making it this far. I mean, you're gonna be able to make some sort of pivot. You got to be able to figure something out, man. I'm not too worried about you, man. Even though.
Yeah, I know.
Right now,
I'd
you know
like to
what I
say I'm
mean?
not worried
I have
either, but
faith.
you know.
That's all I'm
Actually,
saying.
there is a way that we've been trying to pivot, and if I could, you know, talk to you about it real quick, maybe there's someone watching, but we've been searching for a rooftop that has, you know, availability to put, you know, 5, 6, 7 tables up there, because I want to do, you know, a Localis engagement, you know, that's rooftop. And so if anyone has any access, I've reached out to a bunch of people in the industry, but you know, I'm sure people are busy and other things going on, but we'd love to try to do something a little different with Localis, you know. And since we don't have a patio, we don't have sidewalk available, we thought, like, hey, let's get up into the skyline and call it Localis Skyline, and just try to do a limited engagement, you know, where people could get a really cool experience overlooking the city that they're dining from.
No, this is exactly why I want to have this show, to talk about this,
Yeah,
share
exactly.
ideas, right? We could have a
Perfect.
whole a skyline city after this. That's a great idea. I love it. Anything I can do, you just let me know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about who you know, when it
Yeah,
comes to stuff like that. So, you know,
I
if
love it.
anyone listening knows anybody that, you know, that has a rooftop that we could, you know, use for a limited engagement, rent, you know, whatever. We just want to do a very small amount of covers, and I think that's probably the only frustration that we have, you know, with current Localis, is we only want to seat 12 people a night. In our dining room, that's 15 feet of space between the
Yeah,
tables.
yeah,
So it's like, you know, I could get
yeah.
it if it was dangerous and we were like smacking people in here. But, you know, if we're sitting people 15 feet apart, you know, and it's only one turn a night, I just, you know, it's hard not to be like, why can't we do that? You know, but I know it's not, you
Well,
know, it's not.
when you see other places around town, the sidewalk dining, they're much closer than that, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. You know, and it's great for I also don't harbor any sort of ill will towards any restaurants that do have the ability to have that outdoor dining. I just think about, like, man, we're not asking much, you know, like 12 people a night and we could pay our staff, you know, that's really all we need to do. My wife and I are not interested in trying to profit during this time. We're just trying to,
right.
you know, keep the restaurant floating. And
Keep
for
your
the
guys floating.
employees, yeah, if they
Yeah.
want to work, you know, then we should be able to give them work, you know. Like, it's a tough out there right now, and people that are driven to, continue putting in the effort every day, like we need to reward that with a job, you know? So that's all we're trying to do right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate that you are doing that, and I know tons of other restaurant owners that are in that same basket, just not just worried about their place, but their people, man. And so, how's that been with all of them? I mean, are they holding up? Did they have to go on unemployment for a while and then off it, or what's going on with all that?
Well, you know, we had 25 employees pre-COVID, and now we have six full-time people. You know, almost just kitchen people is really the people that wanted to work, you know, that come back. We had some shifts for other people, but you know, sometimes it's even hard to get those shifts filled sometimes. So the team here, you know, there's been some pretty dramatic changes in my lifestyle and in me personally over, you know, past COVID. And we have really settled into a place where people are comfortable here and we're happy and we're communicating really well. I stepped away from the kitchen in the daily tasks, you know, like there was no reason for me to be bringing that intense energy into, you know, the program right now. And
Right.
what it did was, you know, it showed trust to the staff. It showed, you know, a level of understanding of them. And they have just been absolutely killing it through this whole thing. They work together extremely well. The attitudes are happy. We've had zero turnover really of anybody leaving or something like that. So it's been really good, you know, and we know we're very open with our staff. We always have been. We tell them when the weeks are crappy and when they're really good. And you know, they're making all the tips right now. And I have to mention too that in a million years, I never thought the tips would be like they are for this restaurant. You know, these guests that come here and do this are just so gracious and so kind, and they've been showering our people, you know, with love. So they've been able to make, you know, good money. And you know, like I said, we're overstaffed every night, but that's the way I'd prefer it, you know, like that's what we got to do to keep people working.
It sounds like the Sacramento dining public loves you guys, and they are keeping you guys afloat as much as humanly possible in these times, and trying to figure it out. How do people order from you right now?
So we switched over to Talk. We left Open Table a couple of months ago. Talk is just kind of we did a lot of research, a lot of back and forth, and we just love the way that they deal with individual restaurants. They really cater their software to what I need as a restaurant. We need, and so we switched over to Talk. So people just go to our website. We have 3 and 4 course tasting menu options. We're still doing the wine pairings. We just did our first run of Sweet Sunday specials, and that's going to be, you know, I'm a absolute fat kid at heart and trying not to be so fat in real life, but you know, ice creams and sorbets have always been a serious passion of mine, so we're selling those every Sunday.
I saw this latest social media post about that. It was beautiful, man, and your flavors sound really awesome. I was wondering if that's just going to turn into a summer side gig or something.
Yeah, I mean, there was space at the new Localis, you know, to do a clean room and actually be able to produce. So, you know, we'll have to see what happens and all of that. But yeah, it's that's been cool. We just launched a really amazing Wine by the Glass program. We were trying to think of, you know, what we could do to not only try to, you know, create revenue, but to try to create an opportunity for people, you know. And so with my, you know, extreme love of wine, we put together a list that I don't think I'd ever try to attempt in the restaurant, of just pouring some of the greatest names in wine by the glass at an incredibly affordable price. Because once again, you know, I'm not going to lie and say we're not trying to generate revenue to stay afloat, but really, I just want people to like taste wines that they would never be able to taste. And
I gotta say, whenever the wife and I come into the restaurant, I am always taken aback by your wine selection. It's just stuff that's just out there. I've never heard of this stuff. It's always a new experience, you know, and it's always great. You know, it's always great stuff. It matches the foods that you're putting it with, and you're doing all of that, aren't you?
Yeah. The love of wine has become a sickness. I think it does it to everyone that falls in love with wine, because it's like food, you know, you can never learn it all. So you're just constantly absorbing information. And I've been so fortunate.
Yeah, really awesome. I saw recently Wine Spectator honored you recently with a little something, and you were talking about almost like a wine club. I mean, you're selling it by the bottle too, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so we have 3, 6, and 12 packs of everyday wines, which are at a lower price point but still amazing, and then also at special wines, that are a little bit higher in price. So, you can get into just a 3-pack a month of some really cool wines. We don't do anything that you'll find on a shelf, or like that. Not that every wine is this crazy esoteric, wine, but we source really cool stuff, and we wanted to share that. And the money for each of these packs is so low in comparison. And, there's times where we even have to balance it out because we lose money on one bottle. So we try to balance it out.
Yeah,
It's not so much about the revenue, it's about like, I want to get people into cool wines, that's really a focus of mine. So.
No, it's really great. And again, that's what this show's about. Look at all these ideas we're talking about right here that you're doing, ice cream on the side and wine club and all of this. It's really great stuff. People are talking about, setting up tables in public parks out here on parking garages, Sac State parking garage or whatever. I don't know how many restaurants could use that though, but somebody's talking about LA. There's tons of them in LA.
Yeah.
Dining. I mean, it's great stuff, right? Derek's giving you a shout out, Derek Sawyer. Yes, he's
out
awesome. There. Nice.
Yeah, and I got the idea for the rooftop dining from Chicago. There's so many rooftop restaurants and bars in Chicago, and my wife and I, the last time we were there, had this couple of really cool experiences, and just kind of made us think, like it's different. When you're looking out on the city that you're in, it's a different perspective, it's a different vibe, and so we're trying to figure out how we can make that happen, and bring it to fruition. So,
I don't know if you know this, but I'm an inline skater, and we do quite a lot of parking garages, and we see so many beautiful cityscapes up there. You would be amazed at the views that we get up there, because we're, at dusk, out there, and there's nobody around, and it's just beautiful. This is a beautiful town, and I think it's a really great idea. That's a definitely a possibility. Someone's asking about like cooking classes. I don't know how you could do that unless you were doing it on like what I'm doing, or you came over to my show and did some cooking classes, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, either or. It's we've been thinking about a lot of stuff. We definitely want to still launch. We were really wanting to do the tasting menu that we're doing, whatever it is currently, as a packaged ingredients kind of thing, and then do videos to help people cook those dishes so they can do the tasting menu. I think too that we're only open 4 days a week, and that's probably going to stay that way forever. I'm done giving my entirety of my life to the business.
Bro, you're the hardest working dude out there, man. I see you and I'm just like, look at this dude pedaling as hard as he can.
Yeah,
like
I can't do it anymore, and because of COVID, I was forced to slow down and forced to stop, and really assess like what's important, and I can still reach all the goals I want to reach, and I can still, do amazing stuff, but yet continue the growth with my family, and continue the growth on myself. There's so much that I still need to work on, and my family needs me so much, and we can do a better job of balancing work and life. And 3-day weekends have become something for us that's just absolutely incredible. We get in here for 4 days, we work long hours, we bust ass, and we get done, and then we have 3 days off, and on that third day, you're usually like, okay, like I'm ready to go back to work. Like this isn't so bad.
I would like to point out the look on this man's face right now, the happiness that you're seeing, that he's taking 3 days off after working this industry for so many years, as hard as he does, right? It's really something else when you have that experience as a cook. I made a transition like that in my life where, I got into these like Monday through Friday shifts, and weekends off, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is Easter Sunday coming up, and I don't have brunch or any of that stuff, right? It's like, that's the face right there, people. That's what you see right there. And it's quite an epiphany when you hit that as a person in this industry.
And we were testing the waters even when, pre-COVID. We stopped doing Sunday services of any kind. I said I don't give two shits about how much revenue Mother's Day brunch is going to get us. I don't care about Easter. Like, I want to spend that time with my family, and I'm not going to open on a special day to do that. And like I said, COVID was just like it was an amplifier. It was like, yeah, that's cool to take Sundays off and not do those shifts, but you also need to take a step back and really look at what's important. And I think when a lot of people do that, they realize, I mean, my passion for cooking is never going to die. I mean, I think you know this. I'm a lifer. I'm going to be cooking for the rest of my life. I absolutely, it drives my whole being right now. You know,
I
it's
don't know,
it's
you
an
might be
elemental
selling
thing.
insurance next year. I don't know.
Yeah, no way.
Did you see that?
I've had the money, you know, like I've been in the career where I made tons of money, and that's great. And it's, you know, it's nice to have, but I love what I do, and I love it with a passion that I've never felt before. Food and wine to me, and the experience level of dining out is just something that I don't think is ever going to change for me. And I can still be just as passionate, just as driven, and still give back to, you know, my family, my employees, my community. And I'm able to do that now. And it's, I think, honestly, the result of time off and space and rest is better food, better work environment, you know, just more for the guests. So I think it's actually a win-win. I don't think there's any negative to us taking more time for personal time, you know?
It seems to me I did read an article probably about a month ago about chefs doing four-fifths weeks or whatever, right? Taking 3-day weekends. And yeah, I think in a business like this, you know, and to put it in perspective, okay, we're not firefighters out on there on the line, or you're not military, or we're not superheroes, and we often talk big about what we do. We're rock stars and heroes and everything, but it's just food, you know. But it is a very stressful lifestyle, and you do need that release, and it's a tough business, right? Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to get into background a little bit for those people who don't know much about you. Okay, now you, to me, seem like a very nice young man, and I was wondering how you made it into a business like that. Let me just ask you: was it the rock music, Chris?
No. I mean, music was my way into food, but definitely not the idea of being like a rock star chef.
Oh no, I don't mean rock star chef, but you got into this food lifestyle. It's the rock music. It drove me to it too.
Yeah, you know, I really think that travel inspired my move to food.
Okay, then fair enough.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I've told the story in multiple interviews, and I'll make it short. But you know, I had been touring as a death metal musician for, you know, quite a few years, and had found, you know, very menial success, nothing to talk about really, you know, but got to travel. And that's really where my food interest started with my mom. She was an amazing cook, but I mean, getting outside and tasting different ethnicities food.
Oh, you had
I know, could get it out, but that really is what sparked like this desire. And after a very long tour, I was home with my wife, and I did not want to be an electrician anymore. I wasn't interested, and she's just like, dude, you got to make a change, because, you know, like, you trying to do this band thing and being gone for months on end and blah blah blah, it isn't working.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, a lot of
you're
blah,
talking
blah.
like this.
Oh yeah, she definitely is watching for sure, you know. And but the bottom line was, you know, I agreed. You know, I wasn't mad at her. I realized that it was time for a big change. And at that point in time, I had done the electrical business because of the money. You know, I was making incredible money at the time. And it was time for passion, you know. And I saw a commercial as I was sitting there, you know, on the edge of my bed, and it was like for a culinary institute. And I was like, you know what, I want to do that, you know. And I went there that day, and that same day I got a job at a little sushi restaurant in Auburn. And that first night, like, that was it for me. It was an instant love, you know. Like, I knew right away that I had made the right choice. And I think there was a purpose for that, you know. I think that wasn't just me being lucky. I think I was destined to be in that kitchen at that time, you know.
Destiny. Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So did you work anywhere else? I mean, how did you start Localis? I mean, you sounds like you went to school. I mean, let's flesh it out a little bit. I'm curious about this.
Yeah, so I love the story because it's so not normal, you know. Like, the normal thing is, you know, I started as a dishwasher because I couldn't find another job, and I ended up loving it, and then I worked my way up. And for me, I went to culinary school. I went into Hapa Sushi that same day after I applied and was they told me that I tested high enough to not have to do the prerequisites. My little time at Sierra College and stuff, so I knew I'd be a faster, you know, to get through culinary. And the same day I walked into Hapa Sushi, and the owner was like, hey, you know, like, do you have experience? I'm like, no, but I'm in culinary school. And he was like, oh, you're in culinary school. Well, then, you know, little did he know that I knew jack shit about cooking at all. You know, like,
Yeah, you hadn't even gone to class
it
yet.
was a fake it till you make it moment for sure. You know, I'm like, well, I'm in culinary school. And he's just like, okay, well, do you have shoes? And I'm like, no. And I walked across the parking lot there to Payless Shoe Source, and I got some non-slips. I came back, and he literally was like, all right, let's learn. And we cooked for the day. And then towards the end of the night, he's like, man, no one's coming in a while. I'm going to head out. And I'm like, whoa, dude, you cannot leave me here. Like, this is not cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he left me there the very first day of cooking. And I was just blown away, and I'm like freaking out. And luckily the two guys that were doing sushi, who ended up becoming, you know, some of my very best friends, they were at my wedding, you know, they were like, dude, you're good, you're fine, everything's cool. And it was a tiny restaurant. I mean, it was so small, but nonetheless, like, we got, you know, like, we got hit hard, and I was freaking out, but I didn't burn anything. I didn't ruin anything. And I'm sure the food was not as good as it should have been, but it didn't suck all the way bad. And that moment, I'm telling you, Dave, like, it was instant for me. I fell in love. I was like, dude, this is the best ever, you know? So I went to Hapa Sushi. 3 months in, they handed me the kitchen. Dumbest mistake they ever made, for sure. Which is also a terrible mistake for me to accept the position, because as soon as I was done with that job a year and a half later, I ended up quitting culinary school because I was working, you know, 65, 70 hours a week. And, you know, I was making it happen, but, you know, definitely didn't know what the hell I was doing. And about a year plus in, the restaurant went under, not because of no business, but because of super bad, you know, management of funds. And I went to Auburn Ale House to get a job. And I walked in there with this big old head and just thought I was the shit because I had run a kitchen. And I got worked so hard that first week, and I realized I didn't know shit. And I was like, oh man, I screwed up here.
You needed
the chef at the time actually said something that I hated him for then, but it was very profound. He was just like, having that job to start with was the worst thing that ever happened to you. And I was like, oh, you're just angry because I did it, you know. And then later on, I was like, yeah, you're right. It was such a bad idea.
It's like say about golf, you know, you pick up the bad habits, right?
Yeah,
you know, and
totally.
you got to relearn everything. And
Well, and plus, you know, the arrogance that you carry when you get to quote unquote run a kitchen, you know, that early into cooking is just a joke. You know, it makes you pompous and rude, and, you know, but nonetheless, I knew I was still cooking, and I loved it. And I worked at Ale House for a very short time. It wasn't my gig. And I was dining with my wife at 1022 when it was open, like way back in the day. And I thought the food was good, and I loved the place. And I said, hey, you know, like, I want to talk to the chef. And chef comes out, and I'm like, listen, man, I want to work here. And he's just like, well, how much experience do you have? And I told him like about a year and a half. And he's just like, not enough, can't work here. And I'm like, give me a shot, you know, like right there at the table. I'm like, I'll come and work for free. I'll do whatever it takes. Like, give me a shot to work here. And so he said,
can I stop you? Anybody looking for a job in a kitchen? This is what you say right here. I'll do anything, you know, I'll work whenever you want, on whatever hours. I don't need money. This is what chefs want to hear. That's an attitude test right there.
And also, I think me being there to eat, right? I don't want to get caught off, you know, too far on a story, but one of my biggest gripes with people that cook food, they're not out dining enough. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to crazy places, but you gotta get out there, and you gotta eat a lot of fucking food. Sorry about the language, to know what you want to cook. You know, like, no one knows what they want to cook until they eat something and they're completely taken back by it. You know, and so often, you know, cooks and chefs, you know, eat garbage food outside of their own restaurants, and it's like, man, spend the money and spend the time and like make a trip and go eat at this crazy taco truck, or like go to a Michelin restaurant, or experience something that you haven't experienced. It's so important, you know. And
research.
Totally.
Helpful tip for people that are interested in this: you don't always have to go in the dining room. You can sit in the bar and get a pretty good idea of a lot of places.
Totally.
Right.
So,
just have a few.
You know, anyways, I was at the table, and I begged for, you know, a chance, and he gave it to me. I excelled very, very fast at that restaurant. I learned a ton from the executive sous at the time. His name was Seth, and he just taught me a lot. He taught me a lot of humility. He made fun of me in front of the rest of the line about my, you know, call outs for times that were off, you know, and things that I didn't cook right. And
Yeah.
You know, so it was good. It was a humbling experience, and I learned a lot at that restaurant. And I ended up leaving there because I got this opportunity at a place called Cafe Zorro in Loomis. And I staged one night with the existing chef. And I had created a special and it sold out that night. And I told Matt, like, hey, I really, you know, love this place and I think it'd be fun to work here, but I can't work under the chef. And it was mostly just because I watched his hygiene and it was just so bad. And I'm like, dude, I'm not down to, like, you know, to do this. And he called me a week and a half later and was like, I'll give you the kitchen. And I was kind of blown away. And that place had been open for like, you know, 20 something years.
Again, this is out in Loomis, you said, right?
Yeah, Loomis, yeah. And so I started there and I slowly but surely took away kind of like the canned Italian vibe that was going on, and started kind of, for the first time ever, creating my own menu and sourcing ingredients. That was really where I fell in love with seasonality as a chef. You know, there was a big giant garden out the back of the restaurant, and all year long, you know, it was just stuff that was coming up that I'd never worked with, or, you know, what am I going to do with it again this year? And Matt, you know, we butted heads a lot. I think I butt heads with everyone I work for because I'm not very good employee.
I suck at being an employee. I'm terrible.
Yeah, me too. And but you know what he did was he was like, hey man, if you can get 26% food costs, anything under that I'll split with you. And if you can get, you know, this percentage labor cost, anything underneath I'll split with you. And that was the first time that I'm so glad that that was my first time running a kitchen, because it really made me look at the numbers, and I knew what I was selling. I knew how much it cost me. I knew what it was going to take to make it happen. He was a very fair boss. You know, he really was. He was a good guy. And I learned a lot.
I was going to say, such a big step when you start to understand those numbers and how to actually, you can actually make money in this business.
Oh, totally. You know, and part of it is working your freaking ass off, you know, like so often chefs, you know, ride on the laurels and it's like, well, I'm the chef, so I don't have to do anything. And I'm like, but if you work all day, you're saving tons of money, you know, like do the work, you know, do the work yourself, source that yourself, butcher it yourself, and train people to do it. Cause, you know, like it's just part of the gig, you know? So I worked there for almost 3 years. I was really loving that kitchen. It was small. The community was really supportive. Everything was great. And then I got this opportunity to open up a bistro, a wine bistro out in the Sierra Nevada, you know, wine kind of area. Okay. And once again, incredible experience, doing some really cool, that's where I really got into food and wine pairing. The winemaker there, Kevin Luther, who now has his own company called Lucid and Voluptuary Wines here in Sacramento. He was a geek and I was a geek, and we just started geeking out on food and wine and pairings. And I spent, you know, the better part of a year and a half there just really tuning into wine and starting to get a little bit under my feet of like how it was made. And that was really kind of what sparked that big interest for me with wine. Matt at Cafe Zorro had kind of got me into drinking some wine. And then, you know, when I got to, you know, the winery, it was just such a natural fit. I'm like, man, this is great.
I can tell that got its hooks into you too, man.
Oh, totally.
Your wine menus are great. The list is great.
And so I worked there for a while, and then I got an opportunity to run Winchester Country Club up in Meadow Vista, which is insanely exclusive, insanely expensive. That was the best money I'd ever made as a chef. My hours were super awesome. I had all the benefits. I had everything, but I just hated it. I just hated it.
You're everybody's employee at that place.
Oh, it's terrible, man. And my wife was so pissed off at me when I wanted to quit, because she's like, babe, really? Like, we have benefits, we have good money, like we have time. And I'm just like, yeah, but I hate it. I don't want to do it, you know?
Yeah, I hate working a country club.
I got to tell you the story of what broke the straw that broke the camel's back at the country club, because the country club itself, and I bring this up because I think it is very important to talk about the business side of food. That F&B program had never profited in the history of the building. They had never made money.
For a profit?
Yeah, no.
They
so
weren't.
When I was there,
guest service.
3/4 I profited in food and beverage. And it was like, everyone's like, whoa, you're actually making money here, you know? And so things were going pretty well, but the meetings that you have with all of the owners there, which are so, you know, awesome, they wanted a tuna fish sandwich on the menu. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, fine. So I did house-made brioche. I did seared tuna. I did, you know, all of this delicious stuff. And I come up with this awesome tuna sandwich. And they were like, no, we hate this. We want tuna fish salad sandwich. And I'm like, you know what? I think we're done here. And that was kind of it for me. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I can go back to, if I'm going to do work that I don't like, I'll go back to being an electrician. There's way more money in it. You know what I mean? I can make way more money bending EMT and, you know, running circuitry than I can cooking food. So
This is exactly the way I feel too. I don't need to make money right now. I'd much rather just do what I want to do, you know?
yeah.
So,
And
yeah, wow.
from the country club, I got a really amazing offer to open up Chibo 7 in Roseville, which was the first like high-end, you know, finer dining place that I had been the executive chef. I actually helped build the restaurant. I used my construction background and put in 6 months of work building the restaurant, and then opened it as chef. And I was there for quite a while, and it was doing really well. And then I got this opportunity to, you know, open my own restaurant pretty much. I was approached by a restaurateur, and you know, he said, hey, we want you to come open up this restaurant, we'll give you sweat equity. And I was like, well, man, that sounds great, you know. And I went and checked out the spot, which, you know, was Localis. And you know, I turned it down. I didn't want to do, they wanted to do Italian food, and at that point in time I had run Cafe Zorro for 3 years. I love Italian food. I love Italian food, but I don't want to cook it for the rest of my life, you know. Like, I'm not interested in cooking one type of cuisine. And so I politely declined, and they said, well, what would you want to do? And I'm like, Localis. I had created Localis as my project, my capstone project in culinary school, the first years of my cooking.
That's awesome, dude. That's so great. You did your project?
Yeah, I did the project. You know,
it's awesome to me because this is what I do, is like I hand students these assignments all the time. So I love hearing it when a student actually does it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That follow through. Project, you know, and so, you know, we decided to open. You know, things were real rough, and you know, there's a lot of history with that, but you know, about a year and a quarter in, I took over as owner, and it just blossomed into a very successful business. And when I say that, that doesn't mean that I made lots of money. It just means we didn't lose lots of money, you know. So I have to clarify that, because when I say, you know, Localis is a big success, people instantly are like, oh, you made lots of money, and I'm like, no, not at all.
You just didn't burn the place down in the first year, you know.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, so when I looked at it, I started Localis 6 years into cooking. So I mean, that's not a normal thing. That's crazy, you know.
That's crazy, dude. You're an anomaly, is what you are.
Which is scary, you know, because it's like at any point in time, you know, like, okay, well, yeah, there was, you know, lightning struck once, you know, like, so is it going to strike again, you know? And it's something I often think about with other, you know, ideas of restaurants. I'm like, man, maybe I just got really lucky on this one, and I shouldn't do another, you know. And who knows, maybe the universe was just like, yeah, no good, you know, don't start another restaurant right now. And COVID happened, and that's probably not going to happen, you know. But I've been consulting too, so that's been another really cool venture that I've done in my career.
Doors are opening, and I think we're all just going to be juggling a gig economy at this point. And it's not just one gig; it's going to be several gigs at once. I wonder if that's the new way of things. I'm getting depressing again, but you know, I wonder if, you know, the idea of just having a job is going away for a lot of people, and it's just going to be, what can we figure out? It's like the Russian economy from the Cold War years, and
you know, I think that, as harsh as it sounds,
I told you I get depressing.
Yeah, I know that's, it's, you know, it's good though, because I do kind of see COVID as a very large equalizer, and it's going to push those people that are innovative and passionate and creative to get even more of that. And it is going to push a lot of people that are not that into that, you know. And it sucks that there's going to be people that this thing eats up, and that's just the facts of life, you know. Like, it's going to happen. But I think that you will see a lot of innovation out of this too. You're going to see a rebound from the people that are doing this for the right reasons, for the most part, you know. And once again, this is my opinion, which means jack shit, but it's just what I think, you know.
But that's why we have you on.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's going to be fast food and higher end dining. You know, I think that the quick casual is going to be really tough. You know, it's because when we do open back up, you know, it's going to be people with no money and people with a lot of money still. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just trying to stay focused on not losing our brand. That's one thing that I can tell you. We thought real quick, do we pivot and go a la carte? Do we do a different vibe? Do we do this? And I was just like, you know what? We can't abandon why we opened this restaurant, you know. And I'm glad that we stuck to our guns, because I think it's worked out well. I think people, you know, there's not really any restaurants in the area doing tasting menus to go, let alone the United States. There's very few. And we found a way to get it really cool, man. We got these neat plates, and we're not putting things in boxes anymore. I mean, things are plated beautifully. We figured out what cooks well, what doesn't cook well, what holds well, what is good at room temperature, and what is good at room temperature. We pre-portion ice creams and sorbets, and then liquid nitrogen freeze them so they pack well, so people can still have ice cream an hour later.
That is pretty cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, we're just going to continue trying to elevate the service. We still do a glass of bubbles for a birthday or an anniversary. We still do candles. We still do, we're trying to be personal. We're still trying to be Localis. And that way, hopefully, when we do get to open back up, we don't have to adjust our business model again. We can just say, hey, we're doing the same thing, and here we go. One thing that we know for sure is even if we get dine-in, we're going to continue with it for a while, because there's a lot of people that don't want to leave right now. They're not comfortable coming to a restaurant. We completely appreciate that. No matter how safe you are, doesn't matter, so we're going to continue doing both for as long as we can.
Right. Well, I got to say, I want to kind of shift gears again. If I don't, I had one thing I wanted to kind of talk to you about, another kind of an educational thing is your menus. First of all, are you still running the Puerto Rico menu right now? Or are you moving into a new one at this time?
So we just finished the first of 2 chapters of Puerto Rico. There was no way that I could fit that trip into one menu. So we did the first 4 courses. That ended on Sunday, yesterday. On Thursday, we start chapter 2. The first chapter was some very, very authentic style Puerto Rican items, arroz con gandules and mofongo. And we really kind of hit home. Right when I got back from Puerto Rico, I started 2 different piques. I had never had those before. I can tell you one thing, though, honestly, Chef, that that travel was so incredibly necessary for me. I thrive on learning, and I thrive on not knowing what to do with food. And I had never.
You got to keep swimming. You're a shark.
I absolutely. And going into a culture where I had never cooked their cuisine, I knew nothing about it. I was just so in love with learning again. And I came back on fire. And that's what I do. I travel, I get experience that I've never had. And then I find ways to put it in my own language. I find ways to paint my art with their paints, but with my own idea. And, there's all sorts of elements that, pique is just like a vinegar hot sauce pretty much. And you let it sit for weeks, and it turns into this beautiful, delicious, spicy and sweet and acidic. And, pique is just a splash on everything in Puerto Rico. And here we put it with our mofongo course and we turn it into a hollandaise. So you get this like spicy, fruity hollandaise that going with, blackened prawns. And it's just like, it's such a good way to use that pique. And that's what I'm excited about. Like, what are we going to do next with it? Like, how are we going to turn it into something completely different? And mofongo, what an easy thing to make. It's delicious.
This is what I love, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about. I mean, you do these tasting menus, you come up with a theme, you go through R&D and production and take it all the way to the plate. Can you kind of flesh out that process a little more? I mean, you went to Puerto Rico to get the inspiration. Where do you take it from there, the next steps?
Yeah, so I think first off, I'll have to tell you that there's almost no R&D to anything at Localis. I don't spend any time working on menus. We don't try things ahead of time. Maybe we have to fix something that got fucked up, or maybe we tried to attempt something that didn't work and we have to adjust what we do. But I don't like the idea of working on something for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and then releasing it. Usually the stuff that I'm using is already out of season. So it's like, I got to get it in, I got to process it. We got to trust that I'm just going to come in and use my knowledge of these ingredients to figure out a way to use it. But with Puerto Rico, I went there for 7 days with the whole family. We did it very safely. It was very stressful all the way up until the day we left. Our children, all 3 of them, the 2 young ones and the old one, had never flown before. So it was all 3 of theirs first time during COVID. We didn't know how the 5 and 6 year olds were going to deal with masks. We just didn't know what to expect, and it was nerve wracking, but we got this incredible opportunity to pretty much go for free. And when you have an opportunity like that, it's stupid to say no. I mean, it's ridiculous. And especially during a time where I hadn't learned anything new about food in so long, and I am anti-internet. Not that I don't love the internet and I don't use it all the time, but to learn things, I want to experience, I want to taste, I want to smell, I want to eat, I want to I want to get involved to learn. I'm a hands-on learner, you know?
Mhm.
So we set up a bunch of different trips in Puerto Rico to eat at different places. And we went to nice restaurants, and we went to the Piñones, and which is like their street food. We ate every type of Puerto Rican food that you can possibly imagine, including a home cooked meal by a Puerto Rican family, you know?
That's what you were talking about earlier. You got to experience it. You got to go around and experience it. I love it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And so I wrote both menus very early on, you know, like within, we were on our last day there, and I was pretty much secured with most of everything for 2 full menus. And we got back that night at 1 a.m. Into SFO, or we got to SFO at 11:30 and got to Sacramento at about 1. And the kids are sleeping, and I'm like, babe, I gotta stop in and make a pique. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I got to get this thing fermenting. We only have 4 days till the menu comes out. So I threw together the 2 piques like in the middle of the night at Localis. And, you know, I came back in the next day, I put my orders together, and we just came in on Wednesday, the day before the menu, and we just started throwing down. And I was, you know, like, hey, I think this is how they make it. And we would just taste and, you know, go back and forth. The first round of arroz con gandules was very tasty, but the texture wasn't right and the flavor was off. And we made it taste really good. The first 2 nights of that menu, it was good. Then I got a different rice. I went to carnaroli, which you usually use to make, you know, risotto.
Oh, yeah.
And it had the perfect texture. And we forgot to cook our sofrito in the fat of the pancetta that we had rendered off.
Okay.
So once we did that and took a bite, I'm like, it tastes like it, you know, like, because we had such incredible experience with that dish. And I mean, it's just rice and beans or peas, you know, pigeon peas. But when it was done properly, we had it at a restaurant called Sal and Pimiente in Fajardo. And it was just like, holy crap, this is what good, authentic Puerto Rican food tastes like. And it's so homey and welcoming, you know, and we had to get it right. So that was just kind of the process.
Can I just kind of talk about this a little bit, okay? I don't know if you saw an old movie called Amadeus about Mozart, right? And there's a scene where he's writing music, and he's writing it freehand. There's another musician there just watching him. He's blown away because this guy is hearing the music in his head, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what chefs have to do when they're putting it down on paper. They have to think about, oh, I need some, you know, some sweetness, maybe a little bit. You're driving home or flying home on this plane, writing this menu, right? And
yeah,
trying and imagining the musical notes in your head and putting them on paper. When you get to work, it's like, hey, we need this. Do a little tasting. Hey, this needs a little acidity, or this needs a little sweet, or whatever it is. And you guys got all the tools there to do it, and you put it all together. It's awesome stuff. I love it.
And so first menu was, like I said, a little bit more traditional, not completely traditional, but we did, you know, like mofongo the traditional way, and we did arroz con gandules, and we did churrasco. Like churrasco on the island is so tasty, and it's so garbage, the meat. It's just chewy as hell, you know, and it's just part of the culture. I get it, you know, it's no big deal. We ate it and I enjoyed it, but I was like, man, churrasco with like really good beef would be next level. And sure enough, like, holy shit, that course is so good, you know.
What cuts are you using for that?
We're using an inside skirt from Mishima Ranch. So we're using a Wagyu inside skirt, just delicious, you know, and trimming it up a little better than usual, taking it to that medium, you know. Everyone flinches when they hear like medium beef, but I'm like, some cuts need to be cooked a little more, you know, like it's chewy unless it hits that spot where all the, you know, all of that connective tissue is broken down enough, you know? And the steak is like melt in your mouth. And yet another time of learning. I made the first marinade in a blender, and it did not taste right. We never used it. I was like, this isn't right, you know? So I got out the mortar and pestle and cracked down the peppercorns first, and then the salt, and then the cilantro seeds, and then the garlic. And we just broke it down and then poured the oil in. And that first taste, you were like, yeah, you can't blend this. This has to be
aerated oil or something. And it
it was really strange, man. But the flavor combination was so different when it was one to the next. So it was a cool learning experience, you know? But that's one thing about Localis. I won't ever put something on a plate that we're not stoked on. You know, very rarely, you know, do we have to really change a dish. Usually it's a little, you know, this or that. But if something's not right, we just won't serve it. And we're the restaurant that's like, sorry, we're out of that tonight. We can't do it because it's not right, you know, and there's just no reason to serve something that you're not proud of.
I completely agree. I do remember seeing that plate now, that skirt steak. Beautiful stuff, man. Everything's just always so colorful and artistically arranged, dude. You're not just a cook. You are an artiste, as you said earlier, painting on a palette and it's not just a palette. You're not just painting. You're telling a story, is what you're doing, right? And you're telling it
Yeah.
with flavors and textures and colors and on the plate. It's really beautiful stuff. If you guys have not seen Chris Barnum-Dann and his crew down at Localis in Sacramento, you really do have to look them up. And it sounds like I'm going to have to check out some to-go stuff, okay, from you guys. I'm still one of those people that's still on the fence. I haven't been to a restaurant since this all started, right? And so I'm still not quite there, but I'm getting there. I'm seriously getting there, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
You know, like you could probably twist my arm to come down. It's awesome stuff, man. Let's see, a couple other things I wanted to ask you here before I get you out of here, because we're going almost on about an hour now. Okay, so what are you eating at home these days? It's not all just Localis food, right? You guys have taco night once in a while, please, right?
Oh man, well, to be totally honest with you, I've been trying, and it sounds crazy. My wife and I are broke, and we don't. It's not a like a wham we're broke thing. We're just living a different lifestyle right now. But we spend every dollar that we have dining out at local places. Literally, I mean, we eat out as much as we possibly can because we know that everyone needs it right now. Like they need it so bad, and we're doing a lot of dining out, a lot, whether it's pickup or on a patio or whatever it is. We're trying to support as much as possible. But when we're at home, my boys are pancake freaks, so we eat a lot of freaking pancakes.
Wow.
We definitely do taco night here and there. We do a lot of family meals at Localis. So 4 nights a week, we're going to eat dinner here, with whatever we got, cooking or whatever we have that isn't going to go to a guest, or like, let's make something out of it.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, it's pretty simple foods, man. I just, I keep it pretty simple. I do cook like Localis at home, like if I'm going to make something, I'm going to do it the right way. And so, there's been a couple nights where I've cooked, a nice scallop dinner for my wife and I. That's like her favorite thing is seared scallops. So I do that every once in a while for her, and just try to. We do simple stuff for the kids. They love quesadillas, and I love making different quesadillas with different fillings and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty much kid based because we have our children with us 24 hours a fucking day.
Two kids, right?
Yeah. Two kids living with us. My daughter's 18. She just turned 18 when I turned 38 last Thursday. So we eat a lot of kid food because that's what they want, so.
Yeah. Wow. So last thing, I'm hoping to have you come on the show sometime and do a little cooking lesson like we mentioned earlier. Something simple. Show us how to spin an ice cream or how to break down a flatfish or something like that. It would be awesome.
Yeah, I would love to. It's I have time now, which is another wonderful thing that I didn't realize that I could experience, was time to do things that everyone always thought I didn't want to come to their stuff or didn't like them or whatever. And I'm like, no, I was just so invested in the restaurant that nothing else mattered. I mean, I always ask people, I'm like, do you want to see the list of family things that I missed, or like all the times that I wasn't there for like everyone because I was just so hell bent on, the restaurant. And now I can say yes, like we go places, we have people over, it's really nice, and I've been enjoying it immensely, just having time, and I can't wait. I'm actually kind of loving one aspect of COVID more than the rest. I'm not a crowd guy. I don't really like being in large crowds. It makes me very uncomfortable. I don't like bars very much. I don't go to those places.
That's interesting.
So lately it's been kind of nice, because you're outside on a patio and I'm not smashed in with a bunch of drunk people. And I love that the bars have to have food because I get food late night now. I always thought it was, such a crappy thing at midnight or something when you're trying to get something decent to eat and there's nothing, and now there's more options. So it's been really cool. We've been having a good time. My wife and I, the kids are with my father right now, playing up in Mount Shasta. And once again, it's like my wife and I have a night off. It was crazy. I literally laid in bed all day watching Away on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen that show.
I have not, no, but we'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I laid in bed and I can't even remember in my 38 years of existence, the last time that I just literally hung out in bed all day long.
Oh my gosh, dude.
It was amazing, you know, like, and we ordered in Chinese food from a local spot up there and ate in our bed. And we were just like, this is the freaking life, you know, like, this is
I am
awesome.
so happy for you, dude. In the middle of all of this, in the middle of all this Armageddon and everything, I'm just so happy that you're having those little moments together like that. It's
so
really
good. Yeah, it's been great.
And speaking of bars and everything, we're not in a bar right now, but all kinds of people are shouting out to you. Keith and Amy Breed Lover out there sending their love, right? Richard Lamb, Danny Lazzotti, maybe you know her.
Oh,
lots of food people out there, yeah. Diane McNulty, Jessica Dan. Oh, I hope you were on best behavior for that one. Yeah, just tons and tons of food people and everything, man. It's awesome. This town loves you, man, and loves what you do. They love your crew, and I just really wish you the best, man. And I'm here for you if you ever freaking need anything. I'm a big fan.
And thank you so much for saying that. And you know, I've been pretty mysterious about some of the things that have been happening in my life. A lot of people have reached out to me and been like, dude, things are changing. Like, what's going on, you know? And I don't know if I'm ready to talk about all of it right now, but one thing I am ready to talk about is I gave all the energy in the world to the people that didn't like me, whether that was because of my success or my attitude or, you know, whatever it is. I gave all of my energy for years to that. And this happened, and I was so humbled by the support that we were shown as a restaurant that I switched gears, and now I give my energy to those people that do care and do love and are honest and are real. And the weight that it took off my shoulders, and my eyes had to be opened. I had to get a different perspective on my whole existence here in Sacramento, because it hasn't been easy. You know, it's been tough for me here. And I had to realize, you know, like the only thing that matters in this life are the people that you surround yourself with. And I was wasting so much energy and time on all this negative stuff. And what I was doing was just turning people away from me, you know, because here I was constantly complaining about how no one liked me and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And this has just shown me once again, like, take a step back, look at it from a different perspective, gather some knowledge, and get back to what's important, which is taking care of the people that take care of you, you know? So it's been a pretty big blessing for me.
Those are some words of wisdom there, brother. I really appreciate you saying that, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. I hope to talk to you soon, and I should probably let you go. For those of you that are watching, all of these thousands of people still watching, hey, check out Industry Cooking Classes. Let's see the channel over on YouTube. I've got tons and tons of video over on YouTube at the Industry Cooking Classes channel. You can go on to Facebook at the Industry Cooking Community if you want to share ideas and see these interviews. That's where I'm streaming these interviews. But we got lots and lots of people. I know tons of teachers over there and everything. If you're doing cooking, hey, come on over, get a mentor, or just throw some ideas out there. We got lots of people that'll help you out with ideas or whatever it is that you're doing over there. Okay. Let's see other things I got going on. I do these Between the Two Stoves interviews. I got lots and lots of people lined up to talk to. And it's kind of, I have to say, cutting into my industry cooking classes that I do, my quarantine kitchen happy hour. But that's okay. I'm bringing this talent to the table in hopes to maybe have them come and show you some of their moves as well, because I can't imagine people want to see me cooking for the rest of their lives. Okay. So this is all part of that, right? And we're going to get Mr. Chris Barnum-Dann in here to do it. And I got lots and lots of other chefs lined up to do it as well. But I got some other great classes in mind. I should say I'm probably going to change the name of it. I've been using Quarantine Kitchen Happy Hour. I think it's about time to put that to bed now that we're living in it, and COVID's just a fact of life now. So we're just going to be calling them Industry Cooking Classes because, hey, I grew up in the industry. It's all I know, and that's all I know how to talk about, okay? And so Industry Cooking Classes, we're talking about how we cook in the industry, man. That's what it's all about. So if you folks are interested in that, please come check out these live videos. Get on that cooking community over there on Facebook, and come along for the ride, because hey, I got lots more ideas of good shows, and hey, I think they're not half bad. Even though I'm a funny looking guy, it's not too bad watching the shows. We got some handsome people coming on too, okay? So I think that's all I got, guys. Oh, one more thing, one more announcement. I'm not going to be in town on Monday next week. I'm going to be out in the mountains. I'm going to throw a backpack on my back and get the heck out of here. So no show on Monday. I'll be back on Thursday with something that'll just shake you to your very core. I don't know what that is yet, but it's going to, okay? That's where we are at this point, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Thanks again to Chris Barnum-Dann for doing what you do every day, man. Again, I'm a huge fan, and I've been watching you from afar all this time, and I really hope that you guys can hold it together over there. And from what I'm seeing, you're doing great, doing these pivots and putting everything out. Lots of people just raving about what you're doing over there, man. So the rest of you folks out there, don't forget to be true to the food. It'll never be false to you. And hey, don't forget that the party's always in the kitchen. Okay, that's going to do it today. Thanks for tuning in for Localis and Chris Barnum-Dann. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye, Chris.
See you guys later.
Boo.